Welcome to podcast number 468 of the Get Paid for Your Pet show. And today we are talking about how to buy rundown motels and converting them into Airbnbs with Francisco Arango. He was on the show before, episode number 252, back in September 2018, almost 4 years ago. And then we talked about how to train and manage cleaners. And in that episode, Francisco announced that he was going to buy some old buildings and turn them into Airbnb. So I'm super excited to welcome him on the show today and get his thoughts and his experiences. So he's learned a lot through the process. So Francisco, welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Hey, all right. I love being back, man. I love hearing your voice.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
I listen to it a couple times a week.
Oh, no shit. Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. I haven't missed an episode since I first found out about you 4 years ago or something.
All right.
Or maybe even sooner than that, right? Probably 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think we started talking. I was just checking our email conversations, and the first contact was early 2018, so just over 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I just let you know. I've learned a lot from your episode, and that's why I listen to every one of them. There's always a nugget every week or two. I get a nugget that I hold on to, and or something to build on for sure. So you're doing a good thing, at least for me.
All right, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm excited to learn from you today because I wanna know all about your experience with buying these buildings and turning them into Airbnbs. I checked out your profile, and the units looked really good. But before we dive into that, I'd love to start with an introduction. I know you got started in Hawaii, right? You live in Tennessee, but you got started in Hawaii. Is that correct?
That is correct. I started off, with one room, and then loved it. So then I bought a place in a building in Waikiki, and I was like, well, if I'm going to go to this building all the time and clean it, I might as well, maybe find another one. So I started doing rental arbitrage in that building, and this was back in 2012 or 2013. It was easy to get them then. So that's kind of how I started right there. So
I was just looking at your profile. You've got like 2,300 5-star reviews. Is that since 2012, or do you have a new profile?
Oh, okay. So the one you see right there, that's from the one we started 2 years ago. That the building that we talked about in the episode 4 years ago. So it's been open for about 2 years now. I think exactly 2 years now. Yeah, but my other profile that has the properties in Hawaii and then a couple that we have in Gatlinburg. It also has I think 2,300 or so because I've had it for so dang long.
Yeah. So you're one of the old school hosts. You started around the same time as I did in 2012. So combining those accounts, you probably have over 5,000 Airbnb reviews, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I really think that reviews mean a lot to me, and I love reviewing the guests. So we review everybody. I mean, even when I know I'm going to get a bad review, which is probably not the smartest thing to do all the time. But that's how you learn how to improve your product. I mean, I hate to take the feedback sometimes, but it keeps me keeping my product top notch. And, I hate to have a guest with a bad experience. And if I can fix something, I want to fix it.
Right on. Well, let's.
So I read all the I read all the reviews, even the private feedback, and I'll even respond back to the private feedback sometimes. Like, oh, sorry, I totally didn't know that. I'll get on that, just so the guests know that hey, I'm a real, I really care about their life and their stay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, definitely really important to review those reviews. We have a system as well for that where we go into every single guest. They leave us a review. They leave us some private feedback. We go in there and store everything in a document we can use for future improvements. That feedback loop, definitely really important.
So there's a little nugget. Like, I guess I'll probably have to do that later on, but right now I don't do it. I just fix it immediately. But you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's good to have that system too, because like you know, we're hiring a virtual assistant right now, and you know, just having that process and the documentation in place makes it really easy for us to pass that off.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of hiring one right now myself. I think that's one of the things that when I talked to Eric, I was like, oh, I want to know what you guys are doing. We haven't hired this person yet, but I got an executive assistant, so this person could help me develop these systems. I mean, just because I don't think I'm that good at sitting there developing a system to do all this stuff,
Yeah,
or
I
I
mean that
just
sounds
don't
very
want to,
familiar.
or I just don't want to do it on my. I don't want to do it on my own. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. No, that sounds familiar. Like building system is not my favorite thing to do either. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert at it either, but the cool thing about these systems, once you have them, it's like it saves so much time.
Well, it seems like Eric just loves it. He just always talking about systems. And, that
No,
just
but that's
makes his day. That's like a vacation for him to go build some systems.
no, it's funny. It's funny that we've gotten, because we always talk about systems, we're kind of known in the industry now as like the systems people. But Eric and I, like when we first started, like we didn't like systems at all, you know. So we hired somebody who really is passionate about systems, and we recognized the importance of it, and so we really focused on it. We developed a playbook, that, you know, way to organize all of our systems in one place, so that team members can easily find the documents with they'll have unique identifiers. But we just recognize the importance of it, you know, where we forced ourselves to really develop that system mindset. And even though it's not fun, it's definitely not my favorite things to do, but sometimes, you know, like you just power through it because you know how important it is, and you know it's going to save you time in the future.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kind of like that lock setup that we were talking about previously. We
Yeah,
do have a system for that, and it sounds like you did too, and saved us a lot of sleepless nights. If there's
yeah, for sure.
have a backup system.
Yeah, we were sparring a little bit on different ways to set up locks and automated door code sending, and how it sometimes not, you know, doesn't always work, but you know, nothing always works, you know. So that's all good. But tell us about these motels that you're developing. Like how many units or how many rooms do you currently have? Because I know you've grown quite a bit.
Yeah, so in operation right now, it's 34 doors or keys or whatever you want to call it. But we have 37. Let's see here, plus 12, plus 30. I don't know, like 60 or so, 80 rooms that are being rehabbed. So um, all our projects, we just kind of gut them and redo the building to what I feel is the Airbnb standard. So we have 35 in operation, about 60 or 70 being rehabbed right now.
And you started with these project in 2018, right? When we last talked on the podcast.
I think that's when we bought the first building. Th- Maybe September of 2018. Yeah, right. So we had, and I just didn't, this is not anything that you asked about, but it just took a long time to figure out the financing for it and to find a bank to do it and to find a bank that would understand what the heck we were doing. Um, and then just to do the rehab just was, took longer and cost more than we really even could imagine.
So what are some of the biggest learning lessons going through this?
Um, well, that there's always a solution to the problem and don't give up. I mean, that's really, have a plan, have a vision of what you want. I think would be a great, and which we did. Um, but know that there will be some dark times, especially if you're doing something kind of new and, risky. So we're, kind of swinging for the we didn't know we were swinging for the fences, but we thought we was going to, try to do it like a double or, a triple, but it ended up being a home run for us. And it was just so hard to, to finish the project. And So just have a plan and make this. Don't give up and stress out during. Don't stress out. Don't break down when it gets really tough and it looks like there's no end in sight.
Yeah. And what's when it comes to you're saying like the financing was difficult. Like how did you end up finding or financing the projects?
Okay, so um, through a traditional bank, I mean, we had bought the property cash. So this guy was, I don't know, it was in a kind of a bad area of town. So I say we call it, an area that's now starting to gentrify. So we paid $70,000 cash. It was like two buildings on one property, and I didn't see the vision. I, didn't, I don't. I mean, I had the vision of the business model, and that hey, you could do these different things. That like Airbnb wasn't what everybody thinks Airbnb is. Um, but anyway, so once we bought the place, um, we just had to shop a couple banks, and really the banks um, really weren't wanting to lend that much in the area that we were in because, like I said, it was kind of an underserved area. There was a lot of drugs and crime in that area beforehand. So we just took whatever they'd give us, which was way less than what was needed really to do the project, but what we thought we could, get it done with. Yeah, so I mean, essentially just found a local bank that was, willing to lend at least something on it.
Yeah. And did the project ended up costing about what you were expecting?
Absolutely not. Like it's so there's two buildings on this property. So we start off with the first building, and we're like, oh, we'll do like 4 or 5 rooms at a time or something like that. And you can't really do it that way with the codes department. Like I didn't know anything about how strict the codes were going to be. I mean, I knew we were in a short-term rental area that would be fine. I was always okay with that. But this the codes on such a big project, we had to have engineer stamps and all these other things. So originally, the guy that sold it to us was an architect. He said, "Oh, just put about $3,000 to $5,000 per room in there." All right, so that's like I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he's off by half, so $100,000. And then we started having some subs come out there and look at things, and they're like, "Oh gosh, this is gonna be like $20,000 per room." So now we're at $200,000 for the first building. And then I got a GC out there, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're looking at $300,000 for a building." So they're always it just keeps on going up higher and higher. So eventually, we settled on this one GC that was like, "Hey, I'll do it for cost plus," which I love cost plus now. And I'm glad we went this route. But like whatever it costs, we'll charge. I think it was 12% or 15% on top of. I can't remember the exact number. Maybe it was 10. And I said, all right, so let's do this. So they started doing this thing, but it ended up at the end of the day being um, $50,000 a room. And the bank had only loaned us enough for about 30,000 a room. So we had to come up with 200,000, during this process. Now I was making some profits in my business in Hawaii still, so that helped out. But um, yeah, we ended up spending $50,000 a room, and we had credit cards, cash. I think I borrowed some money from. No, I didn't borrow any money from friends and family. I don't think on this one. Yeah, but a lot of credit cards, some EIDO money that came in. Like it came in. We were finishing right around the time COVID hit, so it was a curse and a blessing. My business in Hawaii shut down, but I got the EIDL money, so I was able to use that EIDL money to open up 5 rooms. So we were going to get 5 rooms done, and the city was like, okay, we'll give you a permit for 5 room, an occupancy permit for 5 rooms, and we just were able to finish that way, just like right in time. I mean, right when all the COVID, I mean, right when all my credit card debts were about to come due, I refinanced it with another bank. They came by and were like, "Hey, we love your project." So I refinanced them, so I was able to pay them all off right at the time when all my credit card, like 0 interest payments were due. So once, so then once we got started with that project, now I wanted to like give you an idea. how hard it was to find money. I mean, me and my wife were like waking up every morning, figuring out what credit cards would lend us money, how could we could go borrow money. I mean, it was like, I don't think we're gonna be able to finish this project kind of thing. And it's like every day, my wife cashed out her retirement. I cashed out all my stuff too to fund this. Yeah, and then like I said, the credit cards, zero interest credit cards, we maxed out. And then we get the EIDL number would finally put us over the edge. And then once we started seeing how much money this thing was making, it wasn't that hard to go and get some money for the next project, which was the
Yeah.
second building on the property. You know, because I was able to get a higher, show some proof of income, and we started like 5 months later or 6 months after we got all 10 units up and running. But still, that ended up not being enough because what we ended up doing now, this particular property, the second building was on the historic registry, so we had to like hire an architect and do some different things to qualify for the tax credits. But this next building, we spent $80,000 a room, and these are not with furnishings. Usually, it costs like $12,000 or $10,000 a room with furnishings. So there's extra, money there. But it's easier to pay for those with credit cards. Anyhow, yeah. So it cost us $80,000 a room. But we were willing to spend more because we saw the amount of profit we were making on our first building. And once again, I had to go deep into credit cards and high interest loans like Blue Vine and zero interest credit cards and credit cards in general. But we finished it, and there was like no turning back on this. Yes, and we also borrowed from family this time because it was like getting way out of control. Because we spent $850,000 on it, on the rehab portion for 9 rooms, so it's over $90,000 a room. Anyhow, but I knew how much money we'd make on it, so I was like, throw the sink at it. Let's get it done, and let's make these things nicer than the first ones. So, once again, the bank at the very last minute, we did a refinance on the property, and all my credit cards and zero interest credit cards and Blue Vine, the 30% interest on that thing was all coming due, and we cashed out on it, and paid some interest, some high interest, but got the refinance on it, and we could show some numbers, and basically cashed all our, cashed out, and was able to just turn it all into a bank loan, a bank note.
Yeah. So you're saying like your first project, you spent about 50,000 per room for the renovations. The second one was almost double that. You mentioned 850 for 9 rooms, so almost 100,000. What kind of revenues are you getting from those rooms?
Okay, so the first 10 rooms, I believe we were averaging about $2,000 a month on revenue per room. So I think we had 360,000 from the first building per year, and the second building is they're nicer units. We're getting a lot higher nightly rates, so we're at about 360 also, that we're going to average. We've been operating for 5 months with the new building, and I think we've been averaging, so in total with all 19 units in that particular property, close to 45,000 a month. And
45,000.
And we haven't even entered the high season yet. So
yeah,
now that I've refactored everything in, I think we plan to make right around $700,000 to $750,000 a year in revenue. And then our margins after we pay our mortgage, so our net operating income ends up being about half of that. So,
wow, that's pretty. Those are good numbers.
Yeah. No, so that's it was kind of easy for me to jump onto another project. The bank sees that, so I've been the bank that we were using, we still use, and they're a lot more. I'm looked at as a good loan because I have to give them my financials every month. So we already started on another project with that bank, and we'll actually use a different bank, but it was only because of timing issues. But it was still a local bank on another project there, and then I showed my one investor that I liked, what we're doing. I, exposed my numbers and our process. So me and him went and bought 2 more buildings. So and then now I've gotten my in-laws in on this thing. So my sister-in-law went and bought, a 37 unit building. So yeah, the numbers have been good. And what I like about the numbers is I'm kind of pretty cheap. It's just the business model runs so nice, that I'm not too concerned about a downtick in the economy, because I got a lot of cushion there still, and I'm still one of the lowest priced places out there. And I
Yeah,
provide a quality product.
yeah. Yeah, because I was looking at your listings, and a lot of them are around the $60 to $100 per night.
Yeah, I mean, and
So pretty affordable, but the rooms look really nice though. The design and the way the pictures, they all look really good.
yeah. Well, so right now it's 60 to $100, but because this is kind of in the low time of year, and
Hmm.
but during the summer months we'll get $150 to $250 a night, on
Right.
weekend nights, and then $100 on the weekday nights. Yeah, we're super variable on our pricing. So that's one thing that, because I think has been a key to our success, is we're low on the weekdays and high on the weekends. Like
Yeah.
lower than I feel comfortable doing, but higher than I feel comfortable doing. And a lot of hotels and motels, like, branded places, they can't do that. And I believe, not that they can't do that, I believe they won't do that, because here's what I think might be a nugget for everybody out there. Airbnb, you can go that low and still get a quality guest. A hotel or motel, I don't think you can go that low and still get a quality guest,
Mhm.
because there's trail with everybody, on Airbnb. I think you get a little bit more of a community aspect. So yeah, every now and then I've had some, people that I would say that, were had bad intentions, but it's pretty rare. For the most part, even, when I'm doing $50 a night, or, I've done $40 a night places, when you add the cleaning fee, it's, ends up being like 70. Um, I've gotten great guests. I would say sometimes, it is a little true. The cheaper the guest, the more they complain, and the more they pay, the less they complain. But that isn't a thing that we go lower than I think we should go, and we go higher than I think we should go. So I have a
Yeah.
third party handler.
Well, like what I noticed first when I look at your listings is like, so yeah, the amount of reviews, and they're all 5-star, right? So, if you, I know a lot of people are worried about like lowering when there's lower demand, like really lowering their prices. But your strategy is like, hey, let's just fill up my rooms. Let's just get those reviews going. Let's just get people through the doors. And if there's if there's an annoying guest every now and then, like we'll deal with it. But as a result, like your listings really stand out because the amount of 5-star reviews. I mean, I'm looking at one that has 224 5-star reviews, for this one studio. I mean, that's a lot, that really stands out.
Yeah, um, I I think that's one of the keys to why people enjoy purchasing or renting rooms on Airbnb. I don't. I review every guest, even the ones that I know we're going to get a bad review from. I put it out there, and if I have to, I'll just go and reply to it. Um, and we read all the reviews. I mean, if they're super long and like you can just hear a bunch of good stuff, and they're not, we don't really. I can't read the whole entire thing, but the short ones that are to the point and tell me like what I did wrong, then we try to go and fix. But usually you kind of already know that even through the conversations. But okay, so back to my point about why I think these reviews are more valuable than what people give them credit for. I think that's why Airbnb is so popular. Is you get real live, up to date reviews on what the place is really like, and I think a mistake a lot of entrepreneurs making in the Airbnb game is that they think that a kitchen, like people rent Airbnbs because of kitchens, and I used to believe that too until I was in Hawaii. So this was a while back, and I had 2 rentals under arbitrage that had no kitchens. They were 188 square feet. It was just a room. So it was it was in an old hotel room. They call it condotels, and nobody complained about it being in a building that was called a hotel. It was a room with no kitchen, no nothing. You had a microwave. Now we do we do Airbnb it up, and I think that's important to show that detail that you care about the guest, unlike a branded hotel, which I don't think shows no detail and no love for the guest. But the Airbnbs aren't popular because of the kitchens. How about that? I'll just tell you that right there. Airbnbs are popular for other reasons, and I don't know exactly what it is. I think it has something to do with the reviews and the ease of use, and that there's just a lot of supply on there.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I think this could be valuable to some people. Like when I was traveling last year, me and my dad went to like hit some parks up in the west area, and I was trying to get this is during COVID, so I was trying to get places to stay, or towards the end of COVID. I was trying to get places to stay, and all the Airbnbs were taken up, or there was no Airbnbs showing live. So I had to go through hotels, and it was kind of a pain in the butt going through hotels. Really, you got to go, you got to click on so many different links, because you're using Google to go there or whatever you use, Bing, and then you got to go, through their little software, and they'll tell you what's available. But then you got to go actually to their website, and then you got to go enter your code and your name and info on your website, and it just ends up being a real cluster of different things you got to do. When had there been Airbnbs, which usually there are Airbnbs, so maybe they were shut down because of COVID or just totally booked. But it's just nice having all your information right there. You're going to find a quality product in there. There's usually unlimited, a ton of supply in there, so you're not going from platform to platform. You can just book it all right there. It makes it so much easier for me. I mean, I dread going to, I get lazier and lazier, I guess. The less times I have to hit buttons, the better. I just love going to Airbnb and just, there's thousands of rooms on there. There's always a place that's available.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a trend that people want fewer action steps in order to achieve a certain result. Right. So we getting used to more and more convenience where it's just like, hey, click on the button and you book your room. Right.
Yeah. And you have an arbitrator there in between you and the guest, which I know obviously I'm on social media or Facebook and stuff and I hear people complaining about Airbnb, but I love them. I love that having that mediator right there to help me. It sort of protects me from the guest. It also protects the guest from bad hosts. So I think guests know that too. I mean, maybe they're not saying that. A lot of times you don't know why you buy something, but there's something about Airbnb that keeps me going back as a consumer, as a user.
I want to talk a little bit more about the current projects that you're working on, because as you know, like we're also in the process of kind of planning some renovations on our own cabins in Idlewild. And what we're noticing is like it's like right now, like materials are really expensive. Contractors are hard to find, very expensive. Like everything seems to be so backed up. Is that what you're experiencing as well with your current projects?
Okay, slightly. I was lucky or fortunate, or I found so we have a project going on in Bangor, Maine, a 37-unit building that's on the historic registry. And I found a contractor rather quickly, and he was able to start rather quickly. And he was a reputable contractor. Now, maybe it was timing issue. I mean, now if you go try to book him, well, you're not going to get him because, I know he's wrapping up one project and working on ours at the same time. Now, I have a project in Massachusetts, in Great Barrington. And it took okay, so number one, there's a lot of different hoops to jump through there. Like I had to hire an architect, even though we're not moving any walls around or anything like that, and get permitting and all this different permitting stuff that was going on there. But I have found it difficult to find contractors that can move faster. Now I did find a contractor, one of the first ones I met up with there, and I got references from architects about him. So he's supposed to start in mid-May. So it's not as bad as what you guys are having over there. But one thing I kind of like doing is I like going through architects first and seeing, because a lot of my projects require an architect. So I'll go to an architect, find out who they like working with.
Mhm.
And generally they know people. Now your job might not need an architect, or maybe it does, I don't know, but maybe it's good to go, start at the top and then work your way down instead of, starting with contractors. So, and then in Hot Springs where we have our other property, like I've been using a contractor there over and over. So he knows I'm always gonna have a project. So he's kind of always, ready. So, and he's got different subs, and the subs know me and they know the checks are coming on time. And I don't, one thing I don't do is, I don't negotiate. Like they give me a price, I pay the price because I trust these people, and I want to see them do well too. I don't want to see them have, not making money, not being able to take vacations. So I always, I feel like I try to pay as top as I can. Um, you know, so I think that, maybe I have that reputation of like I'm not going to nickel and dime anybody. Let's spread the wealth around. So that, I haven't had that issue yet. But neither one of these areas are as remote as Idlewild is, right? That's where it's at, Idlewild. So it could be a different story, if I was in something that remote.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's good, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I found one guy on that design website. I forget the name of it. It's kind of a popular design website. Anyway, that or yeah, that's way I found one guy, but I also made sure he was referred to by the architect that I'm going to use. Because if you have an architect that never worked with a, a general contractor, it can be a nightmare. So you kind of want to make sure that they can be on the same page.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
this project I did in Hot Springs, the last one that was on the historic registry, the architect and the GC just didn't see eye to eye, even though they're probably both right in their own way. But hearing that one person, oh, you're not doing that right. I am doing it right. I'm just gonna do it a little bit later on. It's like, it's like getting two different developers to give you I mean, if you know anything about websites or whatever, every developer's got a different way of developing something, and they're all going to tell you the other guy's, way off his rocker. And it's like, I, that I didn't like that friction, and um, so I hired an architect. So so I love my contractor. So I hired an architect that he was familiar with and been working with. So that time I kind of went upward, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but So anyway, there's a little tip there. Make sure the architect in your contract. You can find contractors through architects, but make sure that they can work together.
Yeah. That's a good tip. Um, Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the mastermind. You joined our. I'm wearing my SCR Legends mastermind shirt, the original one for this occasion.
I hope I get a
Because
hoodie one. Am I going to get a hoodie one?
we could put that. We could put that on the list of requests. For goodies and stuff.
All right.
But yeah, tell us why did you join the mastermind?
Well, I like what you guys are doing. I've learned something from you guys for a while, and you helped point my ship in the right direction a couple times. Little small nuggets here and there. Um, um, So just in that aspect, hey, I kind of like to pay you guys back somewhat, but the main thing would be just it seems like there's other people out there that are doing more scalable projects. So I feel like if you're one of those short-term rental operators that have like 50 units spread out across the U.S., that's more difficult than what I'm doing, I think, and I could really learn some about how to simplify my make my operation run smoother and better. I think I can learn a lot from people who are doing remote short-term rental operations. My projects right now, they're kind of easy to run because I have a point person on each project, and it's usually my clean. I don't want to call them cleaners because they do more than that. They're my manager, they're everything, but they also clean. Um, so they kind of been handling everything, and make life pretty easy for us. And so it doesn't mean I'm going to abandon that method. It's just that maybe I could help make their life a little easier too, about incorporating some of the things I'm learning from you guys at this mastermind. And just talking to other people that are, doing neat stuff is, cool. And maybe I might find somebody who wants to, do something with us, or I can help out,
Yeah.
help them do their thing. I don't necessarily want to be an investor in anybody else's project just because, I got so many things of mine, and I don't really want any new investors because I got a great partner, when I need money. Just help make the Airbnb ecosystem or short-term rental ecosystem a little better, and just learn. Like I said, learn from the people there. I guarantee there'll be people doing some cool stuff there that I can take some nuggets from. And I want to dial in my systems a little better. I want to utilize my executive assistant that I hired. See what they can tell me about things to watch out for, what things to do. Yeah, I want to build a culture in my business that's a lot like Starbucks or like Whole Foods. Like no matter where you go, Starbucks got nice people working there and they're friendly. It's amazing how they do that. Like you go to Whole Foods, friendly, amazing. They're not like I can see. It seems like they're never really at a shortage for great workers either. Like I just can't I can't believe how they do that. And I just want to be able to do that in my business too. I want my
Yeah.
customer assistant, my assistant, to help me implement that culture. Even though a lot of our work is digital, it's not face to face. You can still implement that culture, digitally, and they can see it. That a tenor person, they're not robots. They can make decisions on their own, and I'm paying them great. And this isn't a business about just making myself wealthy. It's a business, that's supposed to be good for the community. That's supposed to be good for the people in the area. And hopefully I'll make some money, right? But, I want everybody's life that my business touches to be better.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Do you have any like core values right now in your team?
Well, I've been thinking of things that I want to like put down, but I haven't done much more than think about them. I want to, like I said earlier, I want people to make decisions on their own. I want to provide a workplace that empowers people to use their brain. I think people love doing that. Responsibility to make decisions, and if they're wrong, they make a mistake, they learn from them. So I don't want to be too process oriented. I want to give that flexibility. I want to make sure that every business, every location that we open up is good for the community. It helps make the community better. I don't extract more profit or more value than I'm given to that area. I want to make sure that the people that help me, I know it's not cleaner, but our cleaner / manager, their lives are better when, and fulfilled, and the people that they hire, you know, it becomes better for them. And so I said the community, I said the people that I work with, and then the guests that they felt like they got appreciated. So I guess some sort of something that encompasses that I don't want to put together in words. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I totally agree. Like culture is really important. And also, giving back to the community and just being a source of positivity in your marketplace, right? I think that's really important as well. And that's something that I think most of our members in the mastermind align on is having, have the why behind the business, right? It's not just about like putting dollars in your pocket. It's about a lot more than that. So I think, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of conversations around that at our event that you'll enjoy for sure.
Yeah, well, one thing I want to put out there, like capitalism to me is on a spectrum. It's not, and it's got a bad rap. I think even capitalists give it a bad rap. Like, oh, it's about profit maximalization, and it's really not. That's just something some dude made up. Like, oh, it's about profit maximal. No, it's not. It's about creating a product, and you don't need to always take as much money as you can get from the employee. You can pay the employee more than they ask for, and I've done that before. Like, hey, how much? Oh, I think it said $20. And I was like, oh, dude, at least 25. Like, no way. Yeah, we can do this. I know one cleaner we hired, she was making like 15 or $25 a clean. And we raised it to 70 bucks a clean. Like this is going to be the new price. Like this is the standard. But you're handling, you're not doing more hours, but you're not just there to clean now. You're thinking, you're offering ideas. So, anyways, I just, I feel like there should be a a hashtag out there called woke capitalism, where you're not just trying to, fulfill raise your bank
Yeah.
account. You're there for more, great reasons. And there's a book out there. I know you guys like reading books. I know Eric likes reading books. He always talks about it. The Infinite Game. And I think everybody could read that and make themselves, infinitely happier and always with something going on. And it talks a lot about a different form of capitalism out there, and that was kind of the original intention of capitalism. It kind of got hijacked by, these philosophers or whatever that changed capitalism, being all about making as much money as possible.
Yeah, one of the mentors who's contributed to our mastermind, Chip Conley, he calls it karma capitalism. I quite
Oh
like
yeah,
that word. Yeah.
right. That's great right there.
Yeah.
So, like one of the things I always do is, capitalism is a skill too. And just because you don't have a lot of money doesn't mean you can't learn the skill of capitalism. I don't think you can learn it in college, but I think you can learn it, with mentors in your life. And I just always like to recognize that, like somebody doesn't have as much as I got. Well, doesn't mean they even want to do capitalism. They enjoy being a waiter. Well, I just love, tipping great for waiters because I just love having a great waiter and, spreading the wealth around. So, I don't know, that was a little bit some of the things I think about on as far as capitalism goes and wealth distribution.
Yeah, for sure. Food for thought, and I'm sure we'll talk more in Mexico when we get together for our first live event.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I'll say one thing. I think wealth disproportionately goes to people who are skilled at capitalism and entrepreneurship. So I want to keep that in mind and always try to give back.
sweet, man. Love that. All right, man. Well, we could talk for hours, but we got to wrap up this podcast. But it was super cool to have you on for the second time. First time was in September 2018. So for those who want to re-listen to that podcast, that was episode number 252. So yeah, thanks for being on the show, man. And excited to meet you in person in June in Mexico with our other mastermind members. And yeah, for the listeners, thank you for listening, of course. And we'll be back on Friday with another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad.
And good luck to you and Eric, man. I hope you guys do great at your Auto Wild and you get paid for your pad and the overnight success. So I know it's a lot of stuff you guys are dealing with, but I love hearing how well it goes.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks so much. And take care.
Take care now.